Just when America has reached a breaking point with division, visionary influencer Danni Benson's I'm Proud of You Sis bro movement taps into the pulse and heartbeat of a culture radically torn. But this loving mom's voice of reason and calm has received national recognition.
How do you balance having your children and always traveling with the Yankee organization?
When I became a dad, I said that I would always love like a mother.
I feel like I have to try certain things or act a different way because I know some people or some kids.
So join Danni Benson as she celebrates her special guests on her show and highlights their gifts and contributions to our world.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm proud of you, sis. Please like, share, follow, and comment. I am Danni, host. I'm so happy. I just want to say happy Wednesday to you all. Oh, there's a little glitches here, but happy Wednesday to you all. I'm so happy that you are joining me today. I have an amazing guest. I'm so proud of her, sis. She is an entrepreneur, just like me, but works in corporate America. So, I've been on her butt for like years because she's so talented as a fashion designer. She has her own swim line, but she would never, you know what it is? It's so hard sometimes to be an entrepreneur. We're so used to being taught to follow, right? Because I feel like when we went to school, we always follow. But what happens is when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have no one to follow. You're the leader. So what happens is you overthink. You don't think you could do it. You get in your brain, and it's so much into being an entrepreneur. It's not just working for yourself. I mean, you're working for yourself 24/7. If you don't bring a check in, you don't get paid that week. So of course, when you're in corporate America and you get your check every 2 weeks, it's such a comfortable lifestyle because you work, you get a check. So it's so comfortable to the point that everything will be paid, right? But when you're an entrepreneur, it's completely different. Sometimes your checks are up, sometimes your checks are down, sometimes you don't even get a check at all. But I feel that with digital happening, digital so fire right now. I think it's so fire. You can be your own marketing team, your own PR team, and now with AI, you have help with writing your content. I think the world is open for people to become even more entrepreneurs, and I'm pushing my daughters to look at that path. Of course, I want them to go to college, but I also want to give them options because they're only 10, and I don't know what's going to happen in 8 years, but if AI takes over, they might have to take the entrepreneur route. But I want to thank Keisha for coming on. I'm so proud of you, sis. She has a swimwear called, is it Keisha Osha? Kiosha. I want to say hi to Keisha. Did I say that right? Did I say that right?
You did. You
Kiosha,
did.
right?
Yes, Keisha. Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, I want to tell you I'm so proud of you, sis, because you did it. You did it. You've been talking about it for years. I've been telling you, okay, where's the swim line? We're going to see. We're going to see it. But I get it. You are a mom. You're raising a daughter. We're in corporate America. We're trying to find time for ourselves. So what happened? Why did you decide to take the jump?
Honestly, I feel like it's just that time, just like, leading back to the introduction that you were mentioning, like, whenever we're in school, we are taught to kind of lead, yes, but more like follow because you're in a class or you may be instructed, you have a teacher, so you kind of have to like follow what they say, instead of going against the grain. And I feel like right now is the right time for me. I was honestly just nervous for a long time. I've been a single mom for some couple of years. And I remember even at one time joking with my daughter, and I was like, listen, I would live out of my car if I could do this thing like 100%. But, I had to make sure that she was okay. So, proud mom, she's educated, living on her own. And now I'm like, I'm ready. I would live out of my car just to make sure that my dream and vision come alive, because at the end of the day, it's like I believe in it so much, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. So now was for me, it's the right time.
So tell me your beginnings.
Oh my gosh, where do I start?
You know what it is? I want people to be inspired, right? Because we're all aren't given like a silver spoon.
Right.
So just taking the chance of being an entrepreneur, it's not like our parents are rich and they're writing us a check and they say go ahead and do it. So I know there's so many people out there that's afraid to do it. But in telling your story, maybe we can give the people the push they need to go for it.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I'll be honest, I had this itch way back when I was like in my 20s. So just when I left high school, I was dating my daughter's father, and we were actually just talking about just doing our own thing. And he actually went off the rim and kind of like started his own design company. And I actually became the face, right, of that design company, the business head, which was so interesting because at the time, this is like back in early 90s, not to date myself, but early 90s, and just kind of coming up, just entering the real world and navigating and figuring things out. And I was always a go-getter, so I'm like, yeah, we just need to do this. But rather than focusing on swimwear, we actually started a design he had a clothing company. And I just think from there, because of the lot of, I guess, support that I was getting at the time, we were getting interviews and getting called for fashion shows. Like, honestly, at that time in that era, and I want to say it's also like when hip hop was becoming like a thing. Everyone was kind of gravitating to hip hop, being like the center of our music and our culture, and building what that we were trying to do. I was like, hey, this is really great. It felt really good, because people was actually reaching out to us and making sure that, we were like getting interviewed and getting noticed, which was really, really great. But in all honesty, I mean, being in your early 20s and trying to navigate paying your bills and don't know how you're going to get your next check, I was kind of nervous. So it was like one of us really focusing on what, his dream wanted to be. And then the other person like literally had to hold down a full-time job,
Like
making
you
sure
had
that,
to hold them down.
yeah, making sure that we're actually having an income coming in. But again, like that was really his dream. And for a long time, like I mentioned, I really wanted to do this, and really just making sure again that my daughter was okay, because honestly, she was my first priority. So I was a teenage mom, had my daughter 18, did not know how to navigate the world, and here it is, I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to be an entrepreneur. But really just realizing, like, you know what, be sensible about what you do. So I would say umpteen years later, just going through all of that and emotions of trying and starting and feeling defeated and not having the money or the support or the success, and even seeing like your friends around you that are doing well and thinking you've always wanted this for yourself. For me, it was more like, if I don't do this for myself, no one is going to do it for me. And I've even tried being in business with other people, but at the end of the day, Danny, like if it's not your own, it doesn't feel the same. You know
Because
what I'm
sometimes
saying?
it feels like you're working for the other person too.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you're doing it collectively as a group, like, yes, everyone does have a role, but at the same time, it's like, and I think really for me, like this vision that I had, it's just been such a thing that in my mind I've materialized it over and over again, right? So it's kind of like, even when I went to school, like I literally went to school to do my MBA in entrepreneurship in order so I can do this thing and make it happen. And one of the things what was going on in my head is like, oh my gosh, I really need to be the person behind what I say I want to do. So when I step into the room, whether I'm in the boardroom with these people and trying to get money, it's like, yeah, I'm not just the woman in the room or the woman of color in the room, but I also have like some kind of accolade behind me, right? And as well as my experience, right? It's not like someone gave me a silver spoon and say, hey, we're just going to put you in front of these people. So for me, I've always wanted that. And, one of the biggest challenge while I was taking the leap and just being noticed by a couple of people, or even I think there were like two shows that I had entered, basically just trying to win some money, right? Get a couple of people in the room. And I wouldn't say it's like Shark Tank, but it was like Shark Tank through your school. So you enter this competition, and they're like, you either get 5,000 or $8,000 and you do all of this stuff. But really, they were like teaching you how to get started, and from there, I've had some ups and downs and some experiences where I had people who literally want to be like, oh, you know what? That's a great idea. We should go with it. But at the same time, it's like, if we're going to do this, I want to make sure that I have a good ROI. And I was like,
And
well,
ROI means return on
ROI,
investment.
return on your investment, right? So I had a couple of opportunities where I could have partnered with other people. But again, just standing in my truth and knowing that this is my baby, I wanted it to do it my own way without someone trying to have equity in my company and trying to tell me what to do. And I think for me, it was more like, wait a second, if I do this, I feel like I'm going to be working for you, right? Because they're the one with the resources and the funding and all of that. And I just wanted to do it my own way. So that's kind of like where I started and what actually just brought me to where I am today with all of the experiences that I've encountered.
So, for someone who's watching you right now, what are the beginning steps of once you decide you want to be an entrepreneur? What is the next step?
Where to start? So I would say the next step, honestly, is not only believing in yourself and that whatever vision that you have, I would even say write it down. It's so important. If you have to make a vision board, make that vision board. If you have to give yourself affirmations, make that affirmations. If you
Yeah,
have
I
to,
actually have like a notebook next to my bed. So
yes,
every time I get an idea, if I don't
yes,
write it down, sometimes I'm like, I forget it.
yeah. I think being an entrepreneur, you literally have to live dream, sleep the dream until you get to the dream. You don't necessarily have to know how you're going to get to step two, but you need to know that, okay, I have a goal and this is what my end goal is going to be. And I think, just writing it down and just being accountable to yourself, right? So you're not just writing it down, kind of like sometimes how we have a to-do list. And sometimes our to-do list could be really long, like a CVS receipt,
Mhm.
right? But you know that you can't always take on all of those things at that time. So really just focus on the small but important things and making sure that you're crossing those items off. But definitely, I feel like making a list where you're seeing the vision and you're just planning the steps of what you think is going to happen. And even if you don't know, but you know somebody that knows, right? And if you don't know that, there's so many resources now, I would say, even post COVID, because one of my biggest challenge, and I mean I still have challenges now, but one of my biggest challenge pre-COVID, when I actually decided that this is what I wanted to do, and however I get there, I'm doing it on my own terms, which is more important to me than someone who's successful is like, oh, I'm gonna throw you like $50,000. I'm like, yeah, that's really great because I do need the money, but I value more what I'm bringing to the table because I feel like, again, I've been birthing this baby for some years, right?
Yes, and
So
you know
like,
what it
let
is?
me bring it to
It's your
term on my
passion.
own terms.
It's your passion, and you really want it to be like homemade
Yes, exactly.
because you want the world to see the vision that you created in your mind come into reality.
Exactly, exactly.
So you want
And
to
I
put your
think
fingerprint on this design and say it's all me, and sometimes not feeling like 50 people gave you this idea. Eventually, when you grow as a company, Keisha,
exactly and expand. Yeah, but I
you're
think
gonna have to let it go a little bit.
yeah, I think it was more important for me to take this stage. And it really came from, again, just like being in business with other people, helping them to kind of build their dreams and realizing that I had my own. So I think for this thing, I just wanted it to be my own. So just making sure that I did it on my own terms. I self-funded, used my own money, my vision, my marketing, everything. Like I'm
That's
doing
why I'm so
everything.
proud of you, sis.
Everything. So, in the near future, yes, I'll be expanding and hiring staff and all of that. But at least, when I'm at that stage, I could say, hey, I'm hiring you and this is what I needed to do. And I'm always welcoming of ideas, but I think at that point it's like I would already form the foundation. So from there I could just build and the foundation is mine.
So you have a daughter. Would you, if we told our parents that we wanted to be entrepreneurs, they would have like chopped our head off. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, you need to go get the 9 to 5 job. Make sure you get a check every single week, every 2 weeks, or however you get paid. Now, living where we are living right now, what would you tell your daughter right now if she says she wants to be an entrepreneur?
I will tell her, go for it. I would probably also tell her because I am a planner and consider myself a businesswoman to let her like kind of map out what her ideas are so I could probably help her, fill the gaps, even if I'm not doing it myself, but definitely I'm resourceful. So I'm always willing to share resources. Go talk to this person just so you can give, you could get their perspective about
would
it.
you would you would you tell her to quit your job?
Um, It depends on how much you want it. And the reason why I'm saying that, I think a lot of times we get stuck, right? So you have a job, it's paying well, um, you get married to your job, right?
No,
My
I
9 to 5
know.
is not my 9 to 5, to be honest with you. I mean,
It's
I am
not. You get
slowly making
paid.
it that, but my 9 to 5
No.
is not my 9 to 5 because there are times where I'm working beyond hours. And granted, you get a salary and you want to make sure that you're performing and doing a great job so you're not in jeopardy of losing your job. But also, the hours I feel that we are putting into our 9 to 5, it's also that's building somebody else's dream, and then at the end of the day, you have no time for yourself.
Yourself.
So unless you're really, really, really structured and you're following that real schedule, like this is what I'm gonna do, then I would say that if she has a vision and she's all mapped out and it looks good and it makes sense and it looks attainable and you feel like, yeah, you know what, I want to pivot and do this. I mean, yeah, I'll probably have to support her, which is totally fine too, because I feel like if you're doing that and I'm in a position to support you, then hey, go grab your dreams. You don't have to be serving two masters while you're grabbing your dreams, because in order for you to be an entrepreneur, you really need to give it your 100%. One of the things conversations I have with my girlfriends is like the same energy that we have getting up to go to work from 9 to 5.
Oh, I
You know
know.
what I'm saying? Or knowing that you're gonna be at
Same.
work like
Same.
9:01 and you're looking at the clock like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be late. Should I call my boss? Or, but you walk in feeling a little on edge. You're not strolling in like, okay, so it's 9:15. I'm here. I think because we have an obligation as leaders to show up, and by leading by example, you want to make sure that you're not just being really flexible and coming in whenever you want. You really want to be the example because, I mean, other people, not just your subordinates, but your leaders are watching you, right?
Well, that's why it's
Same
important.
energy you have to show up for your 9 to 5 or
It's the
your
same energy for you.
the same energy you need to do for you. I get up every morning and I'm
Mm-hmm.
on target. Like I'm putting in 2 hours of this work. And I try to do at least an hour in between times and my work day. But I think for the past couple of months, I'm like, this is what you said you wanted to do. These are the sacrifices and investments that you need to do to get it done.
So, what do you think causes the failure of having your own business?
Gosh, I would say that there are a lot of things. Probably the most biggest thing I would say is the drive to succeed, right? Because if you have that drive, nothing is going to stop you. No resource, no money, no access to whatever it is you need access to, whether it is that you're selling a product or a service. You're just focusing on, you know what I'm saying, the end goal. And you would do anything to get there. I feel if the drive isn't there, because again, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, you're probably in that space by yourself, and it's with anything, it's not just with entrepreneurship. You could be someone who's pursuing a career in, I don't know, Hollywood, or
Mm-hmm.
let's say you're trying to be an anchor woman, or let's say, you have a career path. So whether it's like a lawyer or a doctor, right? Unless it is that you're with a team or a cohort of folks that are like going kind of like going towards that same goal that you're going to, those folks help you get along, right? So if it is that you have a test you need to take, or you're going to a networking event, and you have someone that you could call and say, hey, or not, but you still have someone you could call and say, hey, listen, I'm going to an event, do you want to come with me? Or you call your friend, right, who is in a totally different space, but your friend is going to be your driver, your support, your armor. And you're like, hey, I'm so tired, I got to go to this thing, but I really don't want to. Your friend may be the person to say that one thing that keeps you going. So I think if the drive isn't there, because sometimes it's just not, I mean, we're all human. So at one point, you're going to feel like, hey, it's been 2 3 months or a year and I'm doing this thing, I'm not seeing any end goal, but you're realizing that you're doing it all by yourself in a sense, right? Where you're lacking the support, or you're lacking the finances, or you're lacking whatever it is that you need, and you feel like, my gosh, I'm just in this by myself, and no one is in that mental space, right, as you, so they don't necessarily connect. I think having that drive, you'll just make your own path. You don't even
Yeah, because I
have
think that the main thing is you have to stay
to,
focused.
yes, you have to stay focused and you
Like,
create your own path. So everything else is possible. You're finding the resources because you have the drive. You are finding the funding because you have the drive. Your girlfriend don't want to come because she's just like, I'm so over you always talking about your swimwear. And you're like, listen, we're going to go
what are
to
you
this thing and
talking
we're going to have a
about?
good time. Come, drinks on me. And they're just really there for support. So I think once you have the drive, like everything else is just possible.
Basically, you eat, breathe your dreams, your entrepreneurship. It's you are your brand.
You have to be.
You are your brand. You represent your brand. Even if you're selling a product, you as a person is still the brand, because sometimes people will buy from you just by meeting you or just believing in you. So people have to also understand that it's not also the product that they're selling, but also they're selling themselves.
Yes, I totally agree. I actually had three new customers, really two, and then the third one came along. I had three new customers on the exact notation that you're talking about. They just met me. One of them overheard me having a conversation randomly, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love, young people doing their thing in black businesses." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, if she wants to, I mean, it was great. It felt great, but a lot of the times that you kind of go out and you're feeling like you want to sell yourself, so to speak, because you have to like kind of be brave to get out there so people know who you are, but at the same time you don't want to come off as this like obnoxious person. Oh, I have a business, why don't you follow me on Instagram? Or
I know
but
it just
I'll
seems
tell
like I feel
you,
like it's like a tape recorder sometimes, because
yeah,
we're all saying that I have a business. Follow me, follow me. First of all, I hate that word follow.
yeah.
I hate.
Well, can I
I
say
hate the word
something?
follow.
i'm gonna
Yeah.
i'm gonna I'm gonna put you out there because I checked out your profile and you have pretty much a lot of followers. So
You know what's so
would
funny?
say
Okay,
that
you want to know
you
what's so
are
funny?
bucking. What is it?
I was speaking to
I
someone
feel like
today.
you're at 60K.
Wait.
I'm
I was
literally
speaking to
just
someone
30.
today. I was speaking to someone today, and I really respect this person. And we were on the phone because I'm selling him because I'm doing this self love day thing, right? So he's like a prominent person. So he goes to me, "Yeah, I follow you, but you didn't follow me back." I was like, "You follow me?" I was like, and I didn't even know where to go to find where people follow. But you know what he told me? let me just tell you something about your Instagram. And I'm going to say this to anybody who's watching. When you first meet somebody, the first thing people do is try to find them on Instagram. Before they even work with this person, they want to see their personality, who they're dealing with, how's their persona. And it just shocked me. And he was like, and I checked your page out. I was like, okay, she's good. I was like, what?
Listen, that's like how you would Google somebody. I mean, now people are probably not even really Googling you. They're just like going on your Instagram.
Instagram. It's so crazy because you know what's so crazy about it? Like, I really feel weird Googling people because I feel like it's an invasion of someone's privacy. I want to know the person by just meeting the person right in front of my face and let me meeting them make a decision of how I feel or don't feel about them, right?
Right, sure.
I feel like when you Google, sometimes it's like a cheat. It's like you're cheating a little bit because you might find things and they might put a preconceived notion in your head about that person, and that person might not even be what they are on Google.
Yeah, that is true.
So when he was just like, "Don't you Google?" I was like, "No," like because I asked him for his handles. He never responded to me months ago. So I was like, okay, like I wasn't gonna be that type of person that's gonna search for him because I felt like if you don't want me to know your Instagram, that
Yeah,
means you don't want me
just
to
kind of
know.
left it alone. Yeah.
But you know what it is with the I'm proud of you, sis. It's I have a little bit of a cold. I don't really notice how many like followers I have. I just want to just be myself. I don't and then they start coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Like Keisha, you're that's why I'm so proud of you because you're such a smart businesswoman. You did it as a single parent. You were 18 years old and you even helped your boyfriend build his dream. So you're not even selfish.
X. My baby
Well,
daddy.
I said okay, X. But but the reason I'm so proud of you is it doesn't matter how old you get, your dreams don't expire.
They don't. As long as you are making your goals your dreams, because there's a big difference between having goals and having dreams, right? Your dreams could be your end goal, but you have to create the goal in order to get through the dreams, right? So it's really like looking at a vision, which you could interpret that to be your dream, but what are the steps you're going to take? And you don't always need to know the right answers. But I also feel like now in this time with like, you know, post COVID, I would say Instagram, just the resource. I'm just going to say Instagram alone because I didn't get on Instagram prior to, I won't tell you why I really got on Instagram, but I didn't get on Instagram until like I really had to start taking my business seriously, and for me, like a lot.
Because you're a Facebook person.
I mean, yeah, I stay in
You-
contact with folks on Facebook, but to be
and-
honest, so the real interesting thing about it is that I've always been in media, so to speak, like one foot in, one foot out.
yeah.
But I've never really been the person to like constantly post, right? I post where I feel that it's important, right? And one of the things that I don't know if we're gonna have time to get to, but I shared with you about creating time, right? So really like thinking about how it is that we're creating our own happiness and what that looks like, right? But also thinking about how that happiness happens. And for me, my biggest thing is my time. I feel like the older that I get, the time that I spend with people that I care about, people that I meet, my friends, my family is so important, right? And things that obviously that we did when we were a lot younger, you don't necessarily do them when you get older, but I am so meticulous about my time these days. And I think, COVID really brought like a lot of insight and change for me. Like, listen, your world could end at any given time. You don't have that 10 years that you thought that you had because you think you have a lifetime to do all of these things. It's like doing it now, and as we all know, the world has changed a couple years ago, and I think because of that, and me just being able to do a lot of these tactical things on my own for my business, and I'm like, wait a second, this is working. I could really do this. Like, I could create a budget to, whether it's to reach out to a vendor. I have a manufacturer that I work with. I have two, as a matter of fact. the folks that I'm working with to put together like my marketing like really my creation, but I'm like, hey, this is what I need you to do in order to execute. And I don't have to spend a whole lot of ton of money doing that, because so many other small businesses are growing out of the pandemic, right? And also you're able to connect with so many people that we're just trying to like, kind of just be in a space where we have control of our time and freedom. And to me, for me, that's like my number one priority right now in this stage in my life.
So let's talk about time, because time, you know what's so weird about time? We don't know when we're going to expire.
That is so true.
And that's what kind of you like we live it, and sometimes what I'm trying to do now in my older age is I don't really take the time for granted. Like I might be upset over things, but I try to say, okay, let's see how we can get over it, because I don't have 5 years to get over it. You remember when we're in our 20s?
Yep, and you thought you had a whole like 10 years to like, oh, I have time to do all of
Oh
this.
my
And
god! Like so
now
we
we're
would,
here.
if we broke up with a boyfriend, it would take us like 2 years. Like, oh god. Now it's like the older I get, I'm like, oh no. We can't spend 5 years on this,
Right.
because that means I'm closer to the expiration date.
Exactly. And you don't even know what that is because it could have been in your 20s. But, speaking to what you're saying is like in your 20s, I think we're just like living life, just being funny, exploring, discovering all of that thing. And now that we're older, I would say a little bit more wiser, and definitely have a couple of years under our belt. It's kind of like, when when the time is right for that next thing that you need to do. So whether it is that you're in a relationship and it's time to move forward or it's time to get out, And I think part of what also comes with that maturity of experiencing life, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to sit and wait. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that's why you communicate. Like this isn't working.
You
You
don't
know,
have to.
yeah, you simply say, hey, this isn't working for me, whether good, bad, indifferent, or ugly. And, respect our differences and move on. So whether you do that in business, you do that in relationships, you do that with family or friends, at the end of the day, that person will need to respect you for speaking your truth and, keep it moving. No love lost. It's just that my time is so important and so precious.
And you know what it is? I'm gonna bring it back. It's about self love. This is why I love Self Love Day so much, because I think it's all about. It's not a selfish thing, but it's doing what's best for you, because your happiness should be your number one priority.
Yes, number one.
And I commend our parents. Like my parents were married for 45 years. I'm assuming they were happy the whole time. But you know, but I tell my kids, I feel like things are becoming leases now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like marriage is like a 10-year lease. Like after 10, because I think
10
each
years, yeah.
I I just think
Kind of
each
dies.
decade you change as a person, right? So it's either that person's gonna change with you or change without you. Like meaning like where you going with I I I know like we have to stay married forever. I know people say this, like, for the kids, for the kids. But in speaking to a lot of teenagers, they always say, I wish my parents would have got divorced because I knew they weren't happy.
Right, right. But and I'm no counselor, so
Yeah.
I'm not here to counsel anyone on relationships, but I also feel that the number one key in really sustain a relationship, whether again it's with your friend or with your intimate partner, is really communication. Because yes, as you get older, as you grow, as you experience, you're going to change. Your ideas may change, your wants and your needs may change, but I think in being open and transparent through the entire process,
Yes. And the word is transparency.
transparency is so
That is the
important.
word. It's
So
not
important.
it's not lying, hiding. it's communication has to come with transparency, because that's the only way that I can make the proper decision for myself and for my happiness.
Exactly.
There's no transparency, and I'm making decisions based on something that's not really there. This is where the conflict and the drama and the toxicity
comes in. Yeah.
comes in.
And to be honest, in order for you to even be transparent with someone else, you got to be transparent with yourself.
With yourself.
You got to know for yourself, my gosh, is this where I want to go? Is this where I see myself in 5 to 10 years, And, going for me personally, those are some of the changes that I had to make, which is why I just know that I'm just in, I would say, emotional and mental space for myself, where going back to what you're saying, like self-love, number one importance.
Number one.
Number
That's what I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self, because I wasted a lot of time on things, people, situations, relationships, because of the self-love I had for myself. If I really truly loved myself, a lot of things would have been cut really short, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have looked back or pined for it or wished for it or prayed for it. And that's why time is so important. And I try to, like, you talking about time, just talking about it, it's the one commodity that we can't take back.
Mm-hmm. You don't get it back.
At all.
Gone. Right now is the present, and once this podcast is over, it will be
over.
Right?
And we can't
So
even go back to change it or anything. Exactly. Because do you understand? Like, yeah, you could go back and improvise, but this is what it is.
Totally.
And that's why I respect time so much, because it is what it is. Here's your time. Now, what are you going to do with it to either leave a legacy on this earth where you're remembered for decades to come without you being here? Or are you going to even be memorable, and not even in the world, to your family? You know how you said your friends, mm-hmm. your family, your children. Are they going to care about that you worked so much to provide them food on the table, or are they going to care about the quality time they spend with you?
Exactly. Yeah. It's so important.
Because you can't get the quality time. Like, it's weird, because when you work, you do your own business. Especially, I feel like for men, they say, hey, I'm providing. What else do you want from me? But sometimes I feel that you have to start taking time out of your schedule to understand it's not you just paying for things.
Mm-hmm.
You need to actually take that time and be present.
Right. Right. And those are the things that actually become important to you, I always, a cliche, but I always say that people make time for the things that are important to them. You do. It doesn't matter what it is, So for me, even like thinking through that, it's like what's important to me is my happiness, my freedom, my flexibility of my own time. And for that reason is going back to, just being driven in this stage in my life and entering this new chapter in my life. It's like you like kind of like stop making the excuses for yourself and just get it done. Right. And being driven is what helping me to do that, and just making different decisions, right? If these are the goals that you want for yourself, what does it take for you to get there? And like I mentioned before, you don't always necessarily know that, but having that
but there's two things that I do know. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't know what it entails, discipline and consistency will get you there.
Yes. And that's where the drive comes in, right? So once the drive is there, like everything else I feel would like fall into place, because the drive is it's kind of like if you know that, I don't know, you're on this, that feeling like, well, let's say this is not an unfortunate story, but it's because it's like real life. But you go to the doctor and the doctor goes, oh my gosh, you're having this pain, and you go get checked out and you find that you have, I don't know, 6 months to live. Because we've heard those stories sometimes. Yeah. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this is permanent. I really have 6 months. how you came into that doctor's office is different than how you came
Mhm.
out. And typically what happens is like now you have a time span, you have a time stamp on your life, and all of the things that you may have wanted to do on your bucket list now goes into overdrive. You're not thinking about, oh, how am I going to have the funds or the resources to get those things done because I only have 6 months. You have that drive and you're like, I'm going to get it done because I only have 6 months. So it's really like thinking about how it is that you're going to move forward and just pulling on the people that you know, in order to get it done at the end of the day. So I think with that, you know, the drive, you know, that consistency is going to play a part. Focus is going to play a part. You know, you may not end up with the same friends that you started with is going to play a part, you know, or even family, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be friends. So just, you know, but I would also say, having the drive but also having a balance of how it is that you navigate those channels is also important, right? Because you want people to be around you, supporting you, you know, as you are navigating your journey. But at the same time, you also don't want to be the person that it's like, oh, I knew you when you were, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, and I
tell
hate
you
that.
like your
Like the
frame of,
past.
yeah, your frame of reference and your mind whenever you want something is just different. It something clicks and you're like, I need to do something different because what I was doing before I came into the doctor's office clearly wasn't working.
Right.
Right? So just making that your priority and just navigating through it is important.
So tell me about the swim line.
Gosh, so my swimwear is actually for petite women. I'm a petite person myself. For those of you who don't know me, I am won't tell.
What do you consider petite?
So, petite by societal measures are anyone that is stands 5'4" or under. So it's
Oh,
not necessarily. It's more your height. It's not necessarily. I would say
how much you weigh?
your right. It's not necessarily how much you weigh. So because of your height, your torso right tends to be
Yes.
a little bit shorter.
I
You're a
don't
little bit
know.
more
I didn't
compact.
I
You
didn't
have
know it was short. I guess so. It's the torso that's shorter, or your
your
legs are shorter, or
Your
the whole
legs
thing is
and your
shorter.
torso, all of that combination with everything is short and compact, right? And I really wanted to start my swimwear because a lot of times, so I like to vacation, but a lot of times when
Oh, you always are vacationing. Every time I'm calling you,
I
I'm going here.
try,
I'm going there. I'm like, do you ever like?
listen, I'm probably living my best life through my daughter
Yes,
because she travels a lot. So I'm
yes.
usually jumping on her leg wing of her trips. But so for the swimwear, you know, whenever I was out and, you know, always, you know, you go on a trip, you want to get a new this and a new that, a new swimwear. And I always felt like I was always in between, even with my regular clothes. So I literally have to buy what I think a size would fit me. And by the time you brought it home and tried it on, you're like, wait a second, this is not giving me that fit, the snug, whatever it is that you're looking for that makes you feel really beautiful. I wasn't getting that. I'd literally have to go take it to a tailor in order to like make
Like
it, you know,
shorten it.
exactly. And just a couple of years back, I started doing research and I was like, wait a second, now there's no swimwear that has like a petite wear. And eventually I just, you know, I said, this is something that I need to do for myself. So that's kind of like how the whole thing started. Right. So but yeah, so that's where I started my swimmer line, and from there, you know, I've been getting a lot of attention in terms of people, you know, reaching out saying, hey, you know, this is really great that you're doing that. Interestingly enough, a lot of petite people, which is my target audience for the most part, looking to expand more in the future. But yeah, so that's where everything kind of started.
Keisha,
Yes, sir.
did Danny's gone?
I think so. She dropped off.
Did she say goodbye?
She did not, so I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, that's why I jumped on. Okay, so let's give her a second. Otherwise, I'm going to end the show.
Okay.
So why don't you just give out all your information, let everybody know where they can follow you and find out more information about you. Okay, and we'll see if Danny comes back. I'll put up your website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, so guys, in order for you to reach me, you could check me out on my website. It's keishaswim.com. That's KEIOSHA.com. And also, I'm on Instagram currently, and eventually I'll be expanding to TikTok and also on Facebook.
Okay, so awesome. All right, so you're watching I'm Proud of You, Sis. You have any last words for the audience before we let you go, Keisha?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to encourage anyone out there, you know, I would even say that young women of color that are trying to start out a business and feel like the world is against you. And I would even say young boys, you know, just be true to yourself, believe in yourself, know whatever it is that you're trying to have as your end goal. Make goals, small target goals for yourself. And once you're achieving those, you know, the world is your oyster, especially in the times that we're living in now. So just really believe in yourself and don't let anyone tell you that you cannot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, cool. All right, so for those of you watching, we obviously lost Danny. Hoping to get her back, but it didn't happen. So I guess what we're going to do, we're going to end the show. And thank you very much, Keisha, for coming on. And we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night. Take care, everyone.
See you later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.